Now let's further enrich our perspectives and explore some of the issues covered on the program today and beyond with our guest contributor, who will bring her depth and breadth of analysis to the various subjects that we're going to talk about. And today we have the journalist, political affairs commentator and a Rise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku, who has been noticeably absent, I have to say, but it's great to see you again.
Good to see you too, Charles.
Let's start with that story from River State that broke a few hours ago, and that is the High Court sitting in Port Harcourt at the outset, that's what we heard initially, affirming that Martins Amewule, who was the Speaker of the 10th Assembly of the River State, and 26 other lawmakers who defected from the PDP to the APC are still members of the PDP. That's what we heard initially. And then later on, the Attorney General of River State, Dagogo Israel Iboroma, said the suit before the court did not seek to declare the seats of the 27 vacant or otherwise, but that the lawsuit of the claimants was struck out because of locus standi and because of jurisdiction, which meant that the court would not adjudicate on the matter. I mean, you're a pretty smart one. Do you find that all rather confusing?
I know, Charles. I mean, when you look at what is happening in River State, what we are seeing is a lot of confusion arising from rash decisions made by lawmakers / politicians, which seems majorly for self and not for the people. I don't know whether they thought through those decisions before. It looks like something that was made on the spur of the moment. And so here we are, because, you know, some say that the state court, high court last jurisdiction, this matter has to be decided by the federal high court. So whoever's taking them to court needs to go to the federal high court. But the thing is that here, I don't know whether it's an issue of jurisdiction. Obviously, we are not lawyers, but there are things that are logical and sensible. So this latest judgment by the judge declaring that being a member of the party or a party is not by public declaration on television or on radio and any of that sort of thing. If you're a member of a party, you are registered officially and your name can be found in the register of the party. And so these lawmakers who claim that they defected to the APC, their names are still in PDP.
So technically they're still PDP members.
But, well, this is what it seems to mean, because the APC hasn't claimed them officially. If the APC comes up tomorrow and claims, okay, they are now our members, they have registered, and we have them as our members, then that's a different thing. They are still members of PDP according to what we know. So that presents a problem not only for them, it also presents a problem for the State House of Assembly and also for the people of River State. But I think one can draw the conclusion that what is going on is tragic, because it seems like it's not anything that has to do with governance. It's nothing to do with civilization or advancement or bettering the lives of people. It's pure battle, you know, fight for their political interests.
Fight.
Yeah, and you know.
But I mean, they could have left the PDP and not necessarily joined the APC. So I mean, there's got to be a determination first of all. Have they left the PDP? Because if they have left the PDP, it still makes their seats vacant.
Yes, which is
whether
why
or not
they
went and joined another party. I mean, you see what I mean? Yeah.
Which is why I said, did they even think about it?
Yeah.
And you know, we come back to the issue. Whichever party they have joined, what is the party saying? Are they our members?
Yes.
If they're not our members, then the seats can be declared vacant because, you know, so it's a convoluted case. I think the court
very convoluted.
The federal high court would have to sort it out if that case is taken, you know, to that level.
Right. But it still raises the question, which I think you try to clarify there, about the documentation for their defection and whether that documentation meets the requirements of the law and can stand up in court as incontrovertible evidence of their defection.
So this kind of thing has happened, you know, previously, but most times it's like one member of a party defects. This one is almost half, if not more than half, of the entire assembly. So they would have to go, you know, a distance, you know, to show that they are now members of the APC. Otherwise, like I said, this continues to be a problem
but
for
for
the
themselves,
state.
are they actually still claiming to be members of the PDP? Because nobody seems to hear from them. You see what I mean? In terms of their clarification of whether they see themselves as APC members or as PDP members.
I think they understand that they are in a quagmire. They might have
So
taken
it's
this
best to
decision.
keep quiet,
Yes, yeah,
basically.
they might have taken this decision without thinking about it. You know, maybe their leader from somewhere from the FCT says you have to do this, and they jump and then realize, oh, okay, we're in trouble. You know, so trying to find a way.
to
But there are
maneuver.
also ego issues. They do not want to remain in the same party with the governor because they feel the governor is not their leader. So they have to move with their leader. It's all politics.
That's a very interesting development there. We'll be watching
is.
that very closely. But let's turn to the bill in the National Assembly at the moment relating to ranching. Clearly a very emotive issue in Nigeria at the moment. What do you make of how Senator Abaribe, who was on this program earlier, assessed that issue?
I think he took time to go into the background, and he explained a lot of things which many Nigerians already know about. Remember that this issue was a hot button political issue under the former president Muhammadu Buhari. In fact, the flashpoints, you know, and you know, the catastrophic, you know, crisis, you know, was so prevalent that everybody really wanted it to go away. In trying to find a solution, former President Muhammadu Buhari betrayed himself, some would say, like someone that was heavily biased in favor of the pastoralists. What that meant was that whatever ideas he had, whatever decisions he wanted to make, you know, fell through because people didn't trust him enough to go down that road with him. But then I come back to one thing that Senator Abaribe said, which was about education. This is an existential threat to our livelihoods. And so if our education as Nigerians cannot help us to solve our problems, then our education is hopeless. We are exposed for a reason, you have knowledge for a reason, you go to school for a reason, and he talks about the elites who have the responsibility, let's say these identities that are borderless people. Yes, there are people that are borderless, stateless, roaming all across West Africa, you know, as part of their culture. It didn't present a problem so many years ago, now it is a crisis. Then your education has to be able to find a solution. If not, why do you have an education? And then you're also looking at a couple of things. There's ignorance. I think that people do not understand the depth of what we're dealing with. You do not want starvation on a mass level. If you do not deal with this rapidly and quickly, you're going down that road.
Absolutely.
There's also the issue of ideological and civilizational clashes. People are wedded to their culture, but culture also changes. There is government irresponsibility. You have a government that is indecisive. You also have the urbanization problem. So people that say there are grazing routes. Okay, there are grazing routes, but look at Abuja, for instance. The indigenous people of Abuja have been chased away for us to have, or relocated for us to have this sprawling city that we now enjoy. Will all those people come back to claim their ancestral lands? They will not. So the same thing with grazing road. I don't know whether you want to go back there. There's population explosion, so cities are springing up everywhere. There is pressure on the land. So you have to be more forward thinking and looking to find a way to this problem. But
I suppose that's what they're trying to do in the Senate.
Exactly. So, but
Yeah.
you also have to be sincere. Are you trying to find a solution? Do you just want to put a block,
Yeah.
you know, at every turn of it? But you have to understand the bigger picture. This affects all of us. And the sooner we deal with it, the better for us.
Well, would it be fair, though, to say that this long-running conflict between farmers and herders in this country has become increasingly politicized? I mean, you just have to listen to the arguments in the Senate for and against ranching.
Yes, it has been politicized. I mean, and I dare say that there is also the mix of terrorism, because there's so many things at play here. There are terrorists and bandits, people, you know, harassing people in their farmland, and you won't call those people herders. And it's also, like, to use your word, a motive. For a lot of northern people, it is a motive. This is a culture, right? But, you know, it depends on the language that we use, you know, with one another. The pastoralists have their grievances. The farmers have their grievances, both feel injured and wounded. We know that.
Right.
So we then have to come together. If we have a nation, if we want to have a nation, then we have to say to one another, you know what, let's be serious here.
I think that's very good advice. And technically, I mean, from what I understand, those cows don't often belong to those people. They're simply moving the cows around on behalf of someone else who actually owns the cattle.
Some own.
Right, in which case it would be all right for them to be in a ranch.
Well, some own and some do not. You know, some owned by big businessmen, you know, that then employ their services to move them around. But again, the times are changing. So you have to change with the times. I mean, there was a senator, I think Danjuma Goje, who talked about, you know, the ECOWAS protocol, the movement of persons within Nigeria, but you also have to say, yes, there is free movement of people, but to the extent that you do not impinge on, you know, the life of other person or the destruction of properties, you want everybody to have a right to life as well,
Everybody's
in
got
addition to movement. And even the ECOWAS protocol, it's the same thing. You have a right to move around, you know, ECOWAS region. At the same time, there is a law against trespassing. You do not want to trespass on other people's property. That is against the law.
The key thing is that we must have the rule of law prevail. And that's the most important thing. Constance, good to see you again.
Good to
Thank
see
you very much indeed. Dr. Constance Ikoku is a journalist, political affairs commentator, and Arise News analyst. And that's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja.